Tracy with MeatRx. We're here with another success story for our podcast. And today I have a guest, and his name is Clarke. Hi, Clarke.
Hi, Tracy. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. I'm so glad you came to tell us about all your success. Can you start out? Oh, good. Can you start out by telling us what your diet and your health conditions were like before meat-based diet?
Oh, that was all over the place before it really got going. And main issues that I've had, not really been in, I've been in pretty decent health, all things considered. But big issue that started to develop a couple years ago in June of 18, developed some arthritis in my right knee and my left hip, which I'm in the Navy and was stationed on board a submarine at the time. So any veteran out there who's eating military cooked meals, you get loaded with a lot of preservatives, sodium, heavy carbohydrates. Pretty much eat, for the most part, what they give you. And to get through my days, I would get home from work and then just basically sit down until it was time to go to bed. That was about the only way I could alleviate some pain well enough to where I could get back to work the next day. So I didn't care a whole heck of a lot about diet. I mean, burgers, fries. Although I love burgers now still, I just don't have the bun, processed cheese, and heavy condiments that go along with it as well.
Wow, that must have been very challenging for you to be on a submarine with your arthritis.
A lot of climbing up and down ladders, hard decks, walking across. So didn't get as much exercise either. So I was eating and just more or less putting on weight and got my body weight right up to a heavy 275, which about 5'9", 5'10" is pretty bad, to say the least.
So, so you had weight that you wanted to lose and the arthritis. Those were kind of your health conditions mainly before?
Yes, and I've also just wanted to get ahead of and address some family history issues, particularly with diabetes. Both grandfathers have had it. My father, he had it, and I have a brother who's pre-diabetic at the moment. So I would think that where I was before, I was probably headed right in that same direction as they were, considering that strong history.
Right, I understand that.
And
so, yeah.
I've had uncles who've passed away before they reached the age of 60 due to heart attacks. My father, he passed away from a heart attack when he was 59, and as well.
That's very sad. That's very young.
Yeah, so family history was a lot of motivation to get me moving.
I understand that. That's very scary. So how did you hear about the carnivore diet and how did you begin implementing it?
Well, I have a very good friend out here who started out on keto diet. She lost a lot of weight. She will probably be watching this, so hi, Veronica. And I've always had an interest in health, wellness. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in health science. I'm working on a master's in exercise science and wellness.
Awesome.
So I've had some background in nutrition, but there's always a lot more you can learn no matter how advanced you are. She taught me a lot about keto, and what to look for, or making sure you check your nutrition labels. Well, got a lot of education there, and that just so I started slowly transitioning into that. It's like when I first got moving on diet, I took an approach of what would be the easiest thing for me to eliminate first. I did that. Once I got used to that, then eliminated something else. It just progressed from there. And as I just kept cutting down to essentials goals for a diet, it just really worked to making that conclusion that carnivore was going to be the way for me to go.
Oh, okay. So you
Oh,
like meat, and is that right?
oh yes, love meat. Eat if I can just stick to a very strict plan. Meat, animal-based products, eggs. Eggs is very easy for me to do.
Oh, yeah. So do you include any dairy, or you said you do include eggs?
Yeah, I have eggs. Once in a while, I'll have some dairy. I don't consume a lot of it. The way I have eventually gotten my diet too, I've also learned some from it by researching, because I am heavy into bodybuilding. I want to get into that and some what's called classic physique. So I researched what a lot of people started doing before anabolic steroids came into play, how they dieted back then in that. And I read about Vince Gironda, who pioneered the steak and eggs diet.
Oh, yeah.
So he would eat steak and eggs, and people who worked under him for 5 straight days. But the difference there in a true carnivore diet was what they would do is after 5 days, they would then take a day where they literally ate everything they felt like pasta, potatoes, literally any carbohydrate you can think of, they'll go ahead and have it.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to go that route. So I implemented steak and eggs diet. So for 5 days, I'll eat red meat and eggs twice a day, with an intermittent fast that concludes at 11 o'clock. And then I'll have my last meal before 7 p.m. and then I'm done until 11 the next morning.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I've heard a lot of people do the 2 meals a day, and it seems to work really well.
It's pretty easy to do when you eat a heaping pile of steak and eggs as well.
Yeah, it keeps you satiated, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And it was also just is some things I've learned as well in my master's work, where you can pull off eating that on that off day from red meat and eggs and just keeping it carnivore still, is that the reason that they would go ahead and keep carbohydrates in was to replenish their glycogen stores, or generate the, so that they can generate their energy from working out and fill out their muscles. But then what I've learned as well is that the high protein and heavy amino acids that you get from carnivore diets will go ahead and convert that excess protein and amino acids to glucose to replenish your glycogen stores in the exact same manner, but you don't have to put all those heavy carbohydrates in your body.
Oh, yeah, that's much better too. Because carb loading would be just very hard on the body, it would seem like, after getting it used to all the meat.
Absolutely. So it's been an adventure, but a lot of learning going on still.
Yeah. So, what's your favorite kind of meat, and what do you normally eat besides the meat? Do you just only eat red meat, or do you have lamb, or do you eat any pork?
Oh, for those 5 days, it'll be red meat. It'll be anything from ground beef with an 85% lean content to it. Or I'll have my favorite is ribeye.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's pretty common.
Yeah.
But I also do tri-tip, chuck, beef ribs. As I try to vary it up a lot so that it doesn't feel as much like I'm eating the same thing every day. But that aspect doesn't really bother me as much anymore, because I've been asked so many times how I can just manage to keep myself doing that same thing all the time, that it really has become almost like a reverse addiction.
Yeah, I can see
Because,
that.
because
Yeah.
I'll tell myself sometimes that I'm gonna have, you know what, forget it. I'm gonna take a day. I'm gonna have some French fries with this hamburger or whatever. And then when it comes to the time where it's time to pick it up and go do it, I can't seem to make myself do it anymore.
Oh, wow, cool. Yeah, so cows eat grass every day.
So
They eat the same diet.
yeah. So but on the days where I don't have red meat, I'll have basically anything still that's animal based. Pork, bacon, and chicken, whatever I feel like in that regard, just makes it up, and then I go right back to my 5 days of red meat and eggs.
Mhm. Okay, cool. So you heard about it from your friend, and does she do carnivore or just keto?
She does kind of a blend of the two, but she's been very, very successful in her venture as well. That's what got one of the primary reasons I got going.
Yeah. Okay. So what kind of did, like when you first started out with carnivore, did you have any like keto flu or what people call keto flu? Any symptoms to begin with?
I almost instantly felt better.
Awesome.
I felt a lot better like within a week or two. Because I wanted to make a conscious effort as well to eliminate just about anything processed.
Oh yeah.
As because that was one of the big areas where I needed an education, where my friend helped me to look a little bit closer at nutrition labels. Well, not even so much nutrition labels, but the ingredients as well. How they'll, in processed foods in particular, they'll sneak in some sugar, but it's so low that it doesn't really reflect on the nutrition label. It'll be just so minute, just but you eat enough of it, it'll still spike.
Right. They try to sneak all those things in for sure.
Or like in some spice packages, you'll see some wheat in there. That's common. And so just went to eliminating anything like that processed as much as possible. And switching to salt, pepper.
Yeah. So how long have you been carnivore then?
Strict carnivore, it's been almost a year.
Okay, cool.
That's it. Yeah, it was about August of last year where I had pretty much eliminated pretty much any carb source and all animal base.
Oh, okay. So tell me when you started seeing benefits to your body as far as like your arthritis and any other of your health conditions improving?
I would say, I was still in a relatively decent amount of pain because unfortunately I had to come off my submarine as it just got too severe where I was having trouble functioning day to day. So I was still in quite a bit of pain afterwards, but not near as bad. Oh, after, I tell people frequently when they want to lose weight that you change it up, you're going to drop about 20 pounds almost right off the bat, at least, because you eliminate so much unnecessary fluid from your body, if nothing else. And that in and of itself will start feeling better. So I would say really within about a month, I started noticing a heavy difference right away. And the slow transition was that I talked about earlier to carnivore, where I eliminated bit by bit, got to keto, then to carnivore. Or that was a slow progression in weight loss as well. But once I got that switch into carnivore altogether, I started noticing fat almost melting off right away. And it just is through more time, took more pressure off my joints.
So that improved all your arthritis and helped you in that regard. And is there any other health benefits that you noticed?
It's, I've had some issues in the past with hypoglycemia. Yeah, and I haven't had any bouts of that since then because of the high protein contents. And like I said, that also, when the high protein, high amino acids convert to glycogen, or excuse me, convert to glucose for your glycogen stores, that also helps keep your blood sugar balanced and stabilized. So I haven't had those bouts of low blood sugar and
Oh,
keeping my high protein.
that is good. Great to hear. I love hearing success stories like this. So what would you tell someone, Clarke, that wanted to start out on carnivore, but they're hesitant to? Would you tell them, you have any special advice to give them?
Well, it would just really depend on why they're hesitant. For the most part, I mean, generally, what the comment I'll get the most is they'll feel like they're way too restricted in what they can eat. But I feel a lot more freedom. Exactly. Because usually when I was looking back at the carbs I would consume before, I was still eating pretty much the same thing all the time anyway. I was just eating all the same carbs, and now I'm just eating all the same protein instead. So I don't really feel any more restricted, but I'm also consuming different meats than what I had before as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's not really a concern.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, you'll hear just all the myths out there about consuming high volumes of saturated fat. But my cholesterol has tested perfect ever since I started.
Oh, awesome.
Lost all this weight, and then blood pressure is as lower than it's ever been. It just measured out the other day at 115/65.
Wow, that's great.
So that's pretty good, but even for a 200+ pound man, that's really good.
Mm-hmm. That is good. So that is really an excellent success story. I know it'll help a lot of people to hear your story. And is there anything else you wanted to add?
I can think of, everyone just keep at it.
Keep at it, yeah. It's a process, and it does take time, so that's what I would suggest too. That's a great ad there.
Yeah, mentally, it can be exhausting at first when you first get going. And because it's a really big change especially if you come from the same, where I did, where you were consuming lots of pasta, potatoes, sugar, or you name it.
Mm-hmm.
But it becomes a lot easier the longer you go to just not ever want to go back.
Yeah. So do you do a lot of exercise? You mentioned about exercise being part of your study.
Yes, I try to exercise at least once a day. I'll get in about an hour of resistance training and about an hour of cardio as well.
That sounds good. All right.
Also, it's had to make a lot of changes in that regard, though, because I couldn't do the heavy weights like I was doing before because it's just too much on my joints.
Mm-hmm.
So it's changed up. I've changed that up to a lot of machines and cables, and dumbbells.
Mm-hmm. Is it easier to build muscle eating all the meat?
Absolutely. I've filled out a lot. The common thing I will hear from trainers in the gyms all the time, like I had one just tell me last year at the gym I was going to, to tell me how much more I needed to put carbs back in my diet. Because he just said that's the only way, what I was mentioning before, that you're going to replenish your glycogen stores. And the purpose that I'm talking about with that, I keep mentioning this, is that's how you generate your energy for working out and you fill out your muscles, everything. And he wasn't understanding that that's the half truth. That's very partial. Yes, carbs will do that, but it's not absolutely a necessity to get that done. As if you're consuming large amounts of protein and amino acids, it'll then end up doing the job that they're saying carbs are doing for you.
All right, and it'd be like the carbs are not optimal food to do that with. So I know that.
I generally look around for about 1 gram, at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight a day.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere from like 75% of my weight to a little bit higher.
So how much meat is that per day for you?
That usually comes out to about generally 1.5 pounds or so of beef.
Mm-hmm.
Beef and 8 eggs, and then I also will I'll mix in a couple scoops of collagen in as well. That helps with my joints and get some extra amino acids in there.
Uh-huh.
I'll spread that out either like in my coffee, water, wherever. It doesn't alter the taste of it at all.
Oh yeah.
That adds about an additional 20 grams of protein, I think.
Awesome. That's very helpful. Thank you so much, Clarke, for your story, and your success is just amazing to hear about. And I appreciate on this today, the July 4th, talking to someone in the service to our country, and I appreciate your service.
Thank you very much, Tracy. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.
Take care.